The next time you drive through Central Georgia, we've got a radio station we think you'll love. We're Magic 100, playing all of the songs you grew up with. You'll find us at 100.1 FM. That's 100.1. On I-75, you can tune us in from the north at Locust Grove and from the south when you get to Perry. 100.1 FM. Classic soul hits. Magic 100.
This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is the G Podcast, episode 159. Yes. How many weeks has it been? I almost didn't make it this week, but episode 159 is in full effect. Yeah. 2023. I'm one of them kids that should have had the tonsils taken out.
And what had happened was...
Y'all know what I'm talking about. Your parents, like, oh, no. But you get all the ice cream. No. But anyway, welcome to 2023. This is the G Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy B. Tonya B is in the building. I don't know what happened to Bob. Maybe because the Falcons won today. He was celebrating so hard. The right deacon...
he out there tootsie rolling with the Falcons. Let's call a thing a thing.
Let's just call it what it is. Let's just be honest. But anyway, I did this last year, and I'm just going to jump right into it because our friend of the show, I don't call her a guest. She's a friend of the show.
She's family.
Yeah, she's family. She's in the building. Yeah.
We are family.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to ask you, Onyi, she took some beautiful pictures. She was on, was it vacation? You were in Nigeria? Where were you? Like within the, make sure your mic is on too. I want to make sure your mic is on.
Yeah, hello. Yes, I was in Nigeria. For 3 weeks and from end of November through early mid-December. And
what a time to go. I won't even talk about the weather here, but it was a beautiful time to leave the U.S. But anyway, our friend Onyi.Love is here. Y'all give it up for Onyi, the one and only.
Thank you.
Onyi, tell people, I always introduce you, but I want you to introduce yourself and tell people what you do, what you're all about. Go ahead.
Why, thank you. And thank you so much for having me, Tommy. Thank you. Hi, Tonya B.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Say hello to Vi out there in the ether, too. So.
Hi, Vi. And hi to all the listeners, the regular listeners, the new listeners. Hello, Happy New Year, Happy New all the things to everybody. And I am a healing artist and priestess based in LA, but, because of the world we're in and what we've created with our technology, we have the opportunity to do our work anywhere. So I am a sound healer. I'm a shamanic practitioner. I do coaching and counseling. And really my work is to remind people of who they are. Remind people that we heal ourselves. Remind people that you are a gift and you are valuable and worthy because you exist, period. And the more we walk in that truth, the more we are really living out what our spirits came to live out, which is to be the bigness that we are.
Good stuff. So Onyi, we're kicking off the year. You did this for us last year. And I think you did it. Maybe is this the third year? I don't know if this is.
This is the third year that I've been on. Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year. So, I have you on this time of the year because people are really looking forward into the year to try to get a determination of what's ahead. What are your thoughts on 2023? And I'm just going to give it to you and you roll and we'll jump in where we think we need to jump in. But what do you think? What are you thinking? What are you seeing for 2023?
One of the things that I'm seeing is this energy of clarity, cleaning, and breakthrough in a very focused, sharp, swift, and permanent way. I think sometimes we can see things and say, oh, I'll take care of that. And we're kind of slower to work on things and move things and clear things. And I think there is a time and place for that. And something about this energy of this year, it's a 7 year. So 2023, 2 + 2 + 3 is 7. And one of the energies that is associated with number 7 in the tradition that I practice is Ogun. And he's a warrior. He's a blacksmith. He uses tools and sharp tools. He's always sharpening and cultivating his tools. And this energy of breakthrough is also very strongly connected with him. And I feel like life is like cut it out, get it done. All the things that you feel like you've been working on and whatnot, it's just time. We ain't got time for no more foolishness. We ain't got time for you to keep imagining you're small. Cut it out so that you can actually step into, again, the bigness and fullness that you are. So a lot of clarity is happening very quickly, very sharply, so you can really step into that elevated aspect of yourself.
Good stuff.
Second thing that I'm seeing is we are having a shift of how we view spirituality, how we view spirit, how we view the divine in a way that's more inclusive, in a way that shows the bigger picture, fuller spectrum. From my perspective, and I've said this often, is spirituality is all of it. We are spirits having a physical experience. So everything you do is a reflection of your spirit. And I think as, we're going to have a rise in more recognition of spiritual and religious practices that have historically been dismissed or demonized, so that everyone has a seat at the table. All of it is valid. All of it works. It's just a matter of what you resonate with. So we're going to have the opportunity to see all the different lessons and blessings that all of our spiritual practices have for any one of us, and really giving them all of the honor and the reverence that they deserve. And I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities to heal the violence that has been enacted upon like our various spiritual practices, like our indigenous systems, in light of appropriation, colonization, enslavement. So I feel like there's going to be a time of reckoning when it comes to just, again, our practices of spirit in and of itself.
Good.
I'm also seeing a healing of the masculine energy and the male energy within us, because regardless of your gender identification, we all have a balance of all the energies. And I think we're seeing a shift in that, of just like really healing and breaking through just all the negative expressions of masculine energy, that idea of control, that idea of violation and violence in specific ways, to where we're going to start balancing that and really being in a place to hold space. The masculine male energy holds space. The masculine energy kind of projects, but it allows us to move forward in certain ways. The masculine energy is really supportive of the feminine energy. So we're going to balance a lot of that energy within ourselves, but also within male persons or individuals who identify as males. I feel like there's going to be a lot of healing with them in terms of their relationships within themselves, their relationships with each other as male persons or male identified persons, and their relationship with the feminine as well, so that they can really tap into what, the feminine energy is, which is that heart space, those emotions, that creativity, that void, the darkness, and the mystery. So we're seeing a balance from my perspective of, again, the masculine energy, male energy, and so forth. So
a lot less of the toxic that we've been seeing.
A lot less toxic
hopefully.
Masculinity. Yeah, a lot less of that, and what that truly means. And again, how we express that, not just men expressing toxic masculinity, but how do women, female persons, those who identify as female, express toxic masculinity, and how does that toxic masculinity create toxic femininity, and so forth. We're all pinging against each other. So how do we just heal and balance the energies within us? So again, we express all of our energies from a more balanced, integral place.
Okay, good.
And then the next thing that I see is the grounding and the realization that we get to create something different. I think we've all bought into the idea of things needing to be a certain way. And I think with the pandemic, with, even just things of the workplace and, just how we've practiced and processed life, we saw things that we never imagined were possible, or that they had to be a certain way. We saw a shift in that with just the pandemic in and of itself. And I think coming out of the pandemic, things are opening up more and more and more. We're starting to question all the things that we've bought into, or that we've been told had to be a certain way. So I think everyone's in this place of like, what is the new thing that we can envision and create that looks different from the old ways, or taking the lessons we've learned from the old and just really expanding upon that to really create the worlds that we want to see.
Hey, I want to make sure if there's any kind of phone near, I want to make sure we clear, because there we go.
I think someone was actually calling me.
Yeah, there was. We don't want to miss your message. So you might.
No, is in demand. So that's all there is.
So we do want you, and it may have interrupted a little bit at the beginning, but so at the end of it, please recap. There's some good stuff. I want to make sure we're clear. Go ahead.
So I'll go back and review those. So some of the tips and recommendations or guidance that I can give for this year is, Number one, fine tune how you nurture and nourish yourself. So take care of you in all the ways. People talk about self-care all the time. So that's just, we're expanding upon that self-care. What are you taking in? Whether how you're eating, what you're watching, how you're breathing, all the different things. How can you refine that? How can you level that up? How can you shift the things you're doing in whatever ways you can? Again, some of us have certain privileges that others may not have or be able to access at this point. So there's always something you can do to shift how you do things, and how can we clean it up so that we are taking care of our vessels in the best way possible. Good stuff. Good. Second thing that I recommend or that I guide people to do is reconnect with your inner child. Reconnect with your inner child, that innocent child, that naivety, but like that purity, that trusting part of you, because a lot of us are disillusioned. A lot of us just don't trust, because, we feel we've been given a lot of reasons to not trust, but we've become so hardened. This whole idea of adulting has meant moving away from that part of us that experiences our joy the way that a child does. So really reconnect with that, play games, interact with children, really heal that part of yourself that has experienced whatever you experienced as a child, so that even as you're an adult, you still are holding hands with your child and living life in a way that keeps you in awe and inspired all the time. Good stuff. I hear you.
That's an amazing point when you talked about your inner child. I know a lot of us, and I am one of the people, there are certain things that trigger those childhood memories. You might have certain friends, experiences, places you go. For me, it's regional foods that I ate growing up as a kid that I don't have anymore. And when I see some of these things in the store, it's like, oh yeah, like back to those good times. So I totally embrace what you're saying about that. And the other thing you talked about, the inner child, a time of innocence. We were so shielded from what it meant to be an adult. Our parents didn't prepare us for a lot of things in the world, or they didn't prepare us. One thing I've learned is how to deal with when someone dies. So what happens, it's like, oh my God, I wasn't prepared for that. So, I get what you're saying. And I guess my question would be, are there any other recommendations you can give to anybody, as we get into this whole adulting thing, and how not to be so shocked or just out of sorts when these things that are part of adulting, come into our personal space.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean that, again, it's that energy of recognizing that as we were growing up, as we were experiencing the world through all the conditioning, that there was a lot of trauma that was enacted upon us that we experienced. And I think the recognition, first and foremost, that occurred opens the doors to the possibilities for you to then heal it. And literally even just saying, I would like to heal, reconnect with that child of me that still exists, but for whatever reason felt shut down, or, experience whatever negativity I experienced. But you even just being aware and setting the intention to do that, you start to then notice those opportunities to heal the childhood part of you, whether it's, a lot of children start coming around you all of a sudden, or like you said, you're in the store and you see those things that are part of your childhood memory. I say, look, reconnect with those things that you did as a child, certain foods that you really enjoyed. Eat those foods, certain games you played, play those games, have conversations with people that knew you as a child, have conversations with people that you see that you feel are great examples of adults, have conversations with them and engage with those aspects of individuals that help you to continue to cultivate and heal those parts of yourself, whether it's an adult or a child part of yourself.
Yeah, I think it's the music for me, because you can hear certain songs, or see, artists or TV shows or movies, or you can hear certain songs. You were sitting in the back seat singing. You shouldn't have been singing. You got a backhand. They just, well, I guess that's kind of trauma. But anyway.
But no, like songs like Good Times. Even when you had bad times, songs like These Are Good Times makes you, for me, that is also another trigger.
I'm joking.
The good times of my childhood,
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
but good
definitely.
Stuff. What else you got?
Well, it's interesting because that point kind of follows along with this point and some of the questions and things we've been talking about since I brought up that point about the inner child. The third thing that I recommend is reimagine parenting. How you were parented, how you parent, So again, much of how we treat children or how we were treated as children is based on and in control, asserting dominance and power, projecting our own wants, regrets, and anxieties onto our children, or having that projected onto us to where it's one thing, the parents are vicariously living through us, but they're also putting on expectations onto us because of the things that they feel were not fulfilled as adults. And then how we discipline children is very interesting because, again, it's less about really showing them how to navigate the world. And it's more about just getting them to stop their behavior because it's annoying, or we want to, again, dominate them. We want them to fear us and always listen to us. So if you have children, if you're around children, I encourage that you really take a step back and look at the ways in which parenting is happening, because as you shift and break through those old ways of thinking, those old patterns of behavior that, again, create the trauma, you heal that inner child. You start to treat children around you, whether they're your own or other people's children, differently, and you break those generational cycles so that the children growing up, they know that they have agency. They know that they're co-creators in their lives, just rather than just being, children that have to listen to everything adults say. You start to recognize that we can learn from children just as much as they're learning from us. And we heal through our children's experiences, and we carve a path for them to be who they truly are when we didn't feel like we had a chance to do that ourselves.
But it's so complicated now because of social media and how much information's flowing into kids at an early age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because, we didn't have access to what kids have access to now.
Yeah.
You probably did. You're, a different
to
generation.
A degree, I was in that, that transitional point.
Yeah. But I was, I know maybe not Tonya B, because she was getting into the clubs when she was like 12. But
no, I ain't doing it now.
but I'm just saying the fake ID. But I'm just saying, from a standpoint of those who may have not grown up technologically with a lot that's going on today, it's a very different world. You have to understand. I mean, it's amazing the access.
Definitely. And again, every generation is going to have its own set of circumstances, things to navigate. With us, it's information. You just have it readily available with a click of a finger. Anyone can access all of this stuff. And again, it still goes back to this place of, okay, I'm an adult person, or I'm this person, and I have this child that is navigating the world. How can I support them in navigating the world? Which can also look like, look, I'm navigating it myself. Let's do this together. Oh, okay, my child has access to all this information. How can I still companion them with that? Of, okay, you know what, child, I feel, or my perception is that you watching this thing right here is actually a bit traumatic for you, or it's not supporting in your cultivation. So, we're going to put it away, and you have discussions about the things that are coming up. It's like, how do you, again, rather than saying, don't do this and do as I say, not as I do, it's, hey, you know what, let's have a conversation about why this may or may not be appropriate for you, and really involve the child in those conversations so that they, again, know that they have agency, versus kind of going back to your point, Tonya B, of if you just tell a child no, or you don't expose them to things, and then you become an adult and now you're exposed to it, you don't know how to deal with it. But if someone had the conversation with you of, you know what, this is what we're being shown, this is the information being presented, let me break it down to you in a way that you can understand. And over time, keep shifting the language I use so that when you get to that point where you're experiencing it by yourself as an adult, you already had the practice with adults, so that it's not such a brand new thing, but it may be brand new for you and how you're experiencing it, but you still have the cultivation of someone guiding you through the process as a child.
You know what's scary when you talk about kids and how they have access to so much information, and there's so much of it that's out there that is incorrect and just straight up false. And when parents, again, don't have the discernment to be able to tell their children, this is and this isn't. And just, again, that's to me is part of nurturing. You learn right from wrong, but telling these kids what's right and wrong. And then they grow into adults. And then you have people that are in these, particular cults and sects and things along sects, a sex, not sex. These, religious, these neo-Nazis, these anti-Semitic, and all these, hate groups. And, you find a lot of people that are in those groups, at least the view from my bridge is, it's just what I call an ism. And ism is a fear, sexism, racism, all the other isms. And they just don't know what they don't know. And I think they've gotten to that point because there's been nobody there to really teach them, what is and what isn't.
So true.
And again, as more and more people step into their awareness, then part of our responsibility is to be out in the world, being visible, to live lives that we feel are in balance, that have integrity, so that those individuals that don't have access to that within their families or within their communities, they may have some opportunity to see you walking down the street or hear you having a conversation or be on a podcast that they happen to land on, and you are being a reflection of the world you prefer to live in. They hear that information, and it's still up to them to adopt it or not. Everyone has free will, but the more you're living your life in the way you prefer, and the more you're in the face of, you're visible to the rest of us doing it, then that gives more opportunities for other individuals to see you and then start making decisions as far as how they want to change what is going on in their lives.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. And again, this is the G podcast. You're listening to more or less a year looking into 2023 kickoff with Onyi.Love. How many more you got, Onyi?
I got two more.
Yeah,
I got a million more, but I just got two more.
Because this is really good information. I want to make sure you recap.
Definitely.
But what you got next?
So the next one is claim your healing. If you have been on this journey of healing, self-development, all these things, you've been putting in the work, you've been doing all the classes, the exercises, at some point you get to just say, I'm healed. And that might seem interesting or contradictory to folks because there's this idea of like, but there's always something that I have to fix. And no. If you've been working on it, you've experienced even the most minuscule change. To me, every change is a total change, regardless of how big or small you see it. Then at some point you get to say, you know what? I'm healed. I've done the work. I'm healed. I'm stepping in this new place of wholeness for me. And I get to move. I get to navigate through the world as a healed person. Now, that doesn't mean you're never going to feel the things coming up. That doesn't mean automatically like nothing's going to come up and it's all, roses and honey. But it means that as you encounter those things that were, quote, triggers in the past, you get to recognize that you're able to navigate them differently, look at them differently, process them differently. And that's as a result of you having done all this healing work. So you are approaching life from the perspective of a healed person, which opens up so many opportunities to have a lot of different experiences versus navigating the world as I need healing, I'm broken, I need to be fixed, which brings its own experiences that are whatever they need to be. But there's two different pathways you can take. And I just say, if you've been doing the work, at some point, just claim your healing. And if you're starting on the journey of healing, part of you claiming your healing is saying that healing is possible. Because some people say they want to heal, but then they also have this idea that what they are experiencing, what they have, the trauma they've experienced is too difficult, is too hard. I can never heal this. And that in and of itself is going to prevent you from actually experiencing the healing that you need because you're already saying it's not possible.
Gotcha. Okay. Your final. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tonya B, with your question.
No,
then we'll get to the final
great.
one. Go ahead.
Okay. And because you were saying that, and I just was processing what you've been saying and taking notes, and what you just saying is like those things that you talked about, sitting in the difficult mess that will help take you to the next step. And that'll give you your opportunities and your clarity and your breakthrough. And I've done some of that hard work, and it was some people sit in it and then they don't want to stay there and make themselves actually better. And I always say, how can you be good for anybody else when you're not better yourself? We're always a work in progress. But again, I think the healing will bring those things, like I said, the clarity and the breakthrough and the opportunity. So I thank you for that because you've poured that into me. So now I've got notes I can refer to. Hallelujah.
What you got? Give us the last one.
And the last point is suspend your belief about what is possible. Don't get stuck in the idea that just because something's been done a certain way, again, this goes back to the point I made earlier about we're recognizing that things can be different than what we've been taught. And so again, the encouragement is envision something different for yourself. Just because the past was the past doesn't mean that the present or the future have to look like the past. I was having a conversation with someone trying to envision a new way to utilize a space. But given just how, the city has been, how the government has been, this person just kept saying, well, no, the government just wants this. The government just wants that. And I said, well, I get that. But also envision a system where the local municipality or the government actually can be supportive. Imagine that, generate the positive energy that thought comes from, and go from that place. And the future that you end up in will look completely different than it did before. But you have to be able to suspend your belief about what happened before and envision something new. Because if you stay stuck in the past with what has happened, then you'll just continue that cycle because you're not allowing that breadth of the spectrum of possibilities to actually present themselves.
And that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've made it hard, and part of the work is changing your language.
Yeah,
we say that's hard a lot often. That's hard. That's hard. And Spirit says, well, okay, if you say it's hard, then it's hard. It will be hard, and you'll experience it hard in a hard way. And if you say, you know what, we've made it hard in the past, and it can be a challenge, but I'm willing to see the possibilities for how we can make this happen.
Good stuff. Good. Hey, go ahead and recap in a minute. Can you just kind of go through your list? And I want to make sure people get a recap of what you've given us. Good information. Go ahead, Onyi.
Definitely. So the things that I see, again, the energy of clearing, breakthrough in a very sharp, focused way. Number 2 was a shifting in how we see spirit, spirituality, the divine. Number 3 is healing the masculine energy, the male energy within and outside of us. 4, and I actually didn't say this, but I'll just say maybe that didn't need to be said. But the last thing that I see is grounding in the realization that we get to create something different. And so the guidance that I gave was 1, fine tune how you nurture and nourish yourself. 2 is reconnect with your inner child. 3 is reimagine parenting, how you parent, how you were parented. 4 is claim your healing. And number 5 is suspend your belief about what is possible.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Just very good. Again, thank you so much. Onyi.Love is the website. What other ways can people contact you?
Wonderful. Yes. So my website, www.onyi.love. I'm on Instagram @Onyi.Love. I'm on YouTube, Onyi.Love, Facebook, Onyi.Love Official. So if you type up Onyi.Love, you will likely see me. If it doesn't look like me, then it may not be me, but look me up in all those ways. Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Thank you again for helping us kick off the year. Again, for the third year. We appreciate you. Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go ahead and Tonya B, you and I, let's go ahead and do news with Syracuse Mike, and we'll come back and do all our greetings on the other end. How about that? I'm
still floating on the cloud of Onyi.Love, but if you insist, okay, let's do the news.
All right, here we go. Let's do it. Thank you so much again, Onyi.Love. All right, here we go.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
Arkansas's Republican governor says former President Trump should not be elected to serve another term.
I do not believe that Donald Trump should be the next president of the United States. I think he's had his opportunity there. I think January 6th really disqualifies him for the future.
That's Asa Hutchinson on ABC's This Week. So far, Trump is the only Republican to formally announce that he or she is running. The music world was hit hard this New Year's holiday. First, Anita Pointer of the Pointer Sisters died at the age of 74 after a battle with cancer. 3 6 Mafia member Gangsta Boo was 43 when she suddenly died. And Earth, Wind & Fire's longtime drummer Fred White has died. He was 67. Muriel Bowser made history during her swearing-in Monday.
I am standing here today honored to have taken this oath of office for the 3rd time. And you know what they say about 3rd times.
Yes, the third time is a charm. Mayor Bowser is Washington, D.C.'s second elected official and the first woman to earn 3 consecutive terms. Marion Barry is the only other person to serve 3 terms as mayor of the city. While Republicans spent the last couple of days trying to get past infighting within their own party in the House of Representatives, President Biden joined Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell in Covington, Kentucky, to talk about 2 bipartisan bills signed into law last year, the Infrastructure Bill and the CHIPS and Science Act.
We can work together. We can get things done. We can move the nation forward. We just drop a little bit of our egos and focus on what is needed in the country.
They were at a bridge that will be upgraded with funds from the infrastructure bill. Friday marked the 2nd anniversary of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. President Biden called it an attack on American democracy.
But on this day 2 years ago, our democracy held because we, the people, as the Constitution refers to us, we, the people, did not flinch.
In addition to law enforcement officers and state officials, Mr. Biden presented the Presidential Citizens Medal during an East Room ceremony to Fulton County election workers Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss. They were subjected to threats and harassment after making sure voters in the county were counted. California is dealing with terrible weather. An infant and a 19-year-old woman have died in separate storm-related incidents. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses have lost power, also due to storms. In sports, as Bills safety Damar Hamlin continues to improve, he's breathing on his own now. The NFL has announced the game where he was critically injured will not resume. The decision to cancel the game between the Bills and the Bengals was based in part on the fact that the outcome would have no bearing on which teams qualified for the postseason.
The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 428. Of which the Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California has received 216. Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212. With 6 recorded as present. Therefore, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives.
What a joke. I don't know. Whatever. I don't even know if there's any honor in that. What's the honor in that? You know what I'm saying?
There is no more honor.
There is no honor.
No more honor.
There is none. Oh my God. And they had the nerve to chant USA after all that mess 15 times. I'm not even giving it the time that I don't even. All I can say
let's
is,
move on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On.
I mean, all I can say is when you've got these school shootings. I mean, the 25-year-old teacher, shot by the 6-year-old in a classroom. Shootings in Baltimore, which was that. By the way, the Virginia shooting was the first official school shooting of the year, and then you've got the Baltimore shooting. 2 Baltimore teens were shot. Benjamin Franklin High School in Baltimore Friday afternoon. You've got all this stuff. Not to mention, the young NFL player who nearly died on the field. Actually, he did die. Was resuscitated.
He died twice.
All that going on in the country, and you got clownery going on in Congress. I mean, it's a wonder. Congress, almost 75% of people disagree. Their approval ratings like at 75%. I mean, I'm talking not the negative side of it. Their disapproval is at 75%. I mean, and they don't care. which is the amazing thing to me. But all this other stuff that's going on in the country, you've got the weather, is I mean, everything, either way, we're in a state of havoc. We are.
It's havoc.
I'm staying positive for 2023. I think it's going to be a good year. But to start off with that mess, that clownery.
Yeah. That's what. Hey, we got to go back to Onyi.Love.
The clownery.
Go back to Onyi. Yeah.
we definitely need some cleansing. But anyway, I wanted to mention those two school shootings and just keep those folks definitely in our minds and focus in our prayers. We don't need that type of energy going into 2023. Definitely, especially considering we have clowns representing us who aren't doing anything about it. So, but Tonya B, thank you so much. Again, this is the G podcast. Each week we do news, politics, pop culture, the piping hot tea. Tonya B, Byrdwire, Friday, Saturday nights, 8 p.m., 10 p.m. Tonya B, when you look at and we're in 2023 now. But from the week, you heard some of the stories with Mike. We lost Fred White, of course, Gangsta Boo. Just 43 years old. Yeah.
And Anita
Pointer. Which I was a huge, going back to, you remember the song Salt Peanuts?
Wait, how about Yes We Can? And next week I'm going to have to pull out Bet You Got a Chick on the Side.
All that, you know what I'm saying? And I was just a huge fan of the Pointer Sisters and how they were able to navigate the music scene without being put in a bucket, qualified. They just basically were who they were. And you look at the fact that they did songs like Fire, which was damn near a country song. And then they come out and do something that's like almost like an electronic song in the 80s with Automatic. It's just amazing.
Or a Neutron Dance. Back then,
crazy.
Back then, music was not as, I guess, say, compartmentalized. Back then, you could do a pop record, you could do a gospel record, you could do an R&B record. They would do jazz, pop, they did rock, they did all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And now would that work today? I don't think so.
But it was still segregated, and that's why I want to talk.
That's true. But they were still able.
They were one of the few.
That were actually able to be what people might call mass appeal. Yeah. And the other thing that people don't realize about the Pointer Sisters, when they came out, they were one of those groups that were. Back then, they didn't call it a brand, but just the way that they dressed in the vintage clothing and things along that line.
That's why I brought up the Salt Peanuts song, because it was so crazy. They came out in the 20s, the flapper type,
Yeah, in the 40s, they were wearing platform shoes before they really, hit in the I guess maybe mid 70s. The hairstyles, the hats, the clothing. And they also, remember they did that old blues song that back in the day was scandalous called, Wham Dang Doodle. Remember that?
Yep. So definitely, rest in power, Anita Pointer. Also, Fred White. I was, again, a huge Earth, Wind & Fire fan because, I'm in the midst of basically celebrating the birth anniversary of Maurice in December toward the end. And as we're celebrating or, remembering Maurice and the impact he had on the group and on the music and the groups that they produced, Fred dies. And Fred was young. Fred was what, early 60s?
67. But you know what's interesting?
63, right? Yeah.
Fred passed away on New Year's Eve while the band was on stage performing to a sold-out crowd at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City.
Wow.
So imagine Byrdine coming off stage, and having to deal with that. Yeah. Or if you knew before that, he had to put himself, again, consummate showman, the show must go on, but to have to put yourself into a place where these folks have paid hundreds of dollars to come and see you, you've got to entertain them and give them a show. Yet you're dealing with, you're losing your younger brother.
Yeah, so true.
That's a lot.
And they were almost like, when you look at Philip and you look at Byrdine, you look at Maurice, you look at Fred, they were like the core of the group. you know.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, the originals. Yeah, and you know what else? The thing about Fred is, you know, although he didn't stay with the band, you know, he was on, but he played more in the studio. But you know, those songs like Serpentine Fire in September, he played on all the Emotions albums. You know, almost everything that they touched. Denise Williams, and then he was also able to go across the hall and play with rock bands like Little Feat. And his last drumming gig was with Diana Ross. So you know, if you can pass the test for Miss Ross, you know you are on your game.
Earth, Wind & Fire was just an amazing group. I don't think people understand. I saw these guys in concert. I remember going back to the All in All tour and the Spirit tour. But the All in All tour was incredible. How precise, you know, when you look at the Sagittarius, the horns.
Was that when they were levitating?
Oh, yeah. Was that the levitating bass? Because, you know, David Copperfield did their stage show. But you know, people don't, well, you know, I think most people our age and most people.
Maybe more so now.
Incredible.
Back then.
What an incredible group. Yeah.
You know, they were cutting edge back then. And I think people are now getting to see how far ahead of their time they really were back in the 70s and the 80s.
But even today, if you were to take that group as it existed then and put it into where we are now, they'd still be the baddest. Because they were just that damn, they were incredible.
They came from a time when, like we don't have now, their bands, their musicians, they actually play the instruments. They actually can write and produce their own stuff. And you know, that's kind of a dying art. It kind of died off for me with Mint Condition. But anyway, and Tony.
Yeah, so true. Hey, well, let's do this. You know, I want to go ahead. We'll just go ahead and jump into tea because I do want to talk to you. And one of the things, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on politics. We'll get through it. But I wanted to talk to you about the Rolling Stone article and the singers.
We'll get to that.
So let's go ahead and do tea. Here we go.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tonya B.
All right, now you got to get in where you fit in. You know,
no, I'm just gonna let you roll because I do want to. Let's get into this.
Syracuse Mike talked about the folks that passed away, and I just want to say, you know, welcome back to America's favorite weatherman, Al Roker. You know, he was very, very ill, off the show for 2 months, went through a 7-hour surgery. Now he's back on the Today Show, and what he did say is that some of the that he had here recently were long-term effects of COVID, which he had COVID like maybe in September. So just a cautionary tale, just to be careful. We talked about the legendary soccer player and 3-time World Cup winner Payday, who passed away after a bout with cancer. And I just want to say prayers up to Bubba Knight, Gladys's brother. He's dealing with some real health challenges. He's the last living Pip that there is. So, you know, prayers up to Bubba Knight, and also we can't talk about Damar Hamlin without talking about rest in peace to the great Franco Harris, you know, who passed away about 48 hours before his number was due to be retired by the NFL. I also next want to talk about 500 to Meg Thee Stallion. She is truly winning. She won the decision against her record label. Tory Lanez was found guilty of shooting her. He faces 22 years and possible deportation. But the most atrocious thing about it was his father, who went to the press and said that his son being found guilty was the most atrocious thing to happen in history. He needed to go somewhere and sit down and fold the laundry and shut his mouth. And then here come his wife blaming it on Beyonce. Beyonce has nothing to do with the idiocy that is Tory Lanez. So I don't know what they're just mad because their meal tickets being, you know, cut off. And you know what? We need to deport his ass. And that's all there is to that. Exactly. Now I want to say, speaking of Beyonce, who had nothing to do with, you know, the idiocy of all things Tory Lanez, she's in the bag because prior to her and Jay-Z getting back on the road, they are going to make the money, baby, with this Renaissance tour. You know, she was paid $24 million by a hotel in Dubai to do a concert ahead of the tour. And then Apple Music has teamed up with Beyonce for an exercise program via their fitness app, which you know you got to pay for, but it's all Beyonce music, and that's okay. Now, just a few quick things to remind you about TV and film. Questlove and the legendary Roots Crew are coming to PBS on January 27th for a residency, the first of its kind. It is a must-see. The Roots are everything. Also on January 27th, Eddie Murphy's film, co-starring Nia Long, Mike Epps, and Dion Cole, You People, comes to Netflix. But then he also has another movie coming to Amazon Prime with Tracy Ellis Ross called Candy Cane Lane. And Mary J. Blige is teaming up with BET for a talk show called The Wine Down. I guess she's promoting her wine. Are you ready for that? Time will tell. But I got to say 5 on it to the people that finally got Dionne Warwick's documentary, Don't Make Me Over, on CNN. It's streaming on CNN On Demand, Hulu, HBO Max. And it's very interesting. And I think she deserves to get her dap. And now, in case you haven't heard, she is teaming up with country legend Dolly Parton for a gospel song. So that should be very interesting. But
very.
Yeah. And speaking of movies, let's talk about Dionne's cousin. Her movie, I Want to Dance with Somebody, did not have people dancing down to the movie theater. They tried to blame it on the weather over the Christmas holidays, but this movie cost $45 million to make. It only made $16 million. Just let Whitney rest in peace.
Well, at least they're not Avatar. They got to make all that money back.
Well, there's a couple of movies that are worse than that. That's true. But let me tell you this. Since Will Smith's movie Emancipation bombed at the box office, and it just bombed everywhere, word from the curb is that allegedly, he may be turning to fellow Scientologists. Allegedly, Tom Cruise to help salvage his career. Now, Hollywood always loves a good comeback story. And there's one movie theater where Emancipation played. They only took in $3,000 in one day, and that's less than 300 tickets sold in a day. So, people are giving Tom Cruise a side eye. Yes, he's a movie star, but look at how he abandoned his ex-wife, Katie Holmes, and his daughter, Siri. And word from the curb is that Tom Cruise is not really excited about doing anything with Will Smith.
Well, Maverick is huge. He doesn't need to. I mean, he can stay away from that. As a matter of fact, a lot of the year-end countdowns, when they looked at the negative brands of 2023, Will was in that bucket.
Oh, yeah. And one more thing I'm ready for. I'm going up for this. Now, there are 3 female actors that many of us love are coming to Bounce TV. In case you didn't know, that is owned by Martin Luther King III, Will Packer, and Andrew Young. And there's a show called Act Your Age starring Tisha Campbell, who always gets a gig. So somebody likes her. They don't really like her ex-husband, Dwayne Martin, too much. But also rounding out the cast is Kim Whitley and Yvette Nicole Brown. This show debuted sometime this spring, and they're describing it as a Black version of the Golden Girls, which would just be the ladies from Living Single being retirees. But I'm glad to see these ladies. I hope they have really good writers, because it should be really funny. So
good stuff. Give them some work. As long as they're getting some work, that's good. Yeah, good stuff. You got anything else? I'm gonna jump into a couple of things, and then we'll talk about this Rolling Stone. Let's go ahead and wrap
I do have one more thing. I just want to say 5 on it to super producer Nile Rodgers, co-founder of Chic, gave us those songs like Good Times and Lay Freak. Some of the best music of our lifetime. Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out, Upside Down. And of course, we got to remember Sister Sledge, We Are Family. On February 5th, he's receiving the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, which he definitely deserves. I do believe he's very deserving of that.
Without a doubt.
He's made a lot of songs that he's written and produced. People have won awards for it. He's kind of been like that Mac in the back. And, he won a Grammy in 2014 for Record of the Year with that collaboration with Daft Punk and Pharrell when they did Get Lucky. Yep. So I just, I think, now he deserves to get his flowers. That's all
So true.
Not a hope. One more thing I got to tell you.
All right, last thing. Okay, you told me.
I'm not. Well, let's talk. I'm not talking about T.J. Holmes and Amy Roebuck, but I will say this. Chilli from TLC, she got a man. She had a man. She denied dating 90s star Matthew Lawrence from Boy Meets World. They have gone official. He was dating her before his divorce was final. The ex-wife, Cheryl Burke, who was on Dancing with the Stars, put up on her social media, "Oh, that was fast." And they seem to be happy. And Chilli has a type of guy who's usually younger than her, but she does not even acknowledge dating T.J. Holmes. And that will take us to, let's go to this hot garbage Rolling Stone list of the 100 greatest singers of all time.
200.
It doesn't matter. It should be none.
You know what? I want to say this, Tonya B, and well, first of all, one more thing. I did want to congratulate the Best Man's final chapter.
The final. Oh, it's actually good. It's not over. It's not over.
Well, just real quick, they're the first Peacock show to make it into the top 10 of Nielsen. Not only that, they landed top 5. So kudos to them. I know they made a lot of people's holiday with that series. So congratulations to them.
They made mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But this Rolling Stone thing, I'm here to tell you, what bothers me most about it is it really is more clickbait than it is a true story. And I don't think there's any way to truly, at least for one publication like a Rolling Stone, to actually put people in an order by their singing talent. Maybe as artists, you know what I'm saying? Which I think is different if you want to just say their artistry, but not in terms of their singing. Because the biggest thing for me, Tonya B, and I'm not it's not like I'm a super fan of this artist, but to leave Celine Dion out is just kind of
leave Dionne Warwick out.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because, if they want to pick and choose, and I call them soft categories, and put those folks within, when you drop them within a list of 200 by a rock and roll magazine, which really, I never really took rolling. I mean, you and I both were in the music industry, for 20 plus years on the programming side. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, I wasn't going to pick up a Rolling Stone for any kind of credibility to make any decisions on anything.
That's the thing.
I just think that right now it's almost like revisionist history, where they're really trying to, and I give them, the only thing I give them credit for is if you look at the top 10, it's predominantly Black when you look at the artist. But to put Michael Jackson like at 86, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got Michael at 86, and then you look at the list above Michael. It's just like, how is this singer better than a Michael Jackson? It's just, again, I mean, you look at the people they left out. You look at the fact that even though, if you have a singer's conversation about particular art, and when I say singers, I mean like truly singers' conversation. Of course, you might say, well, Janet Jackson may not be the best singer. She's more of an artist. She's, it's presence, entertainer. But to completely leave her off the list, and then you got somebody like, some of the artists that they have in there who are truly,
Whitney
okay,
Spears.
you're still going to have what in the top, who is definitely not a quote unquote singer, Bob Dylan. You respect Bob for his lyrics, for his artistry, for his ability to create social change. But don't call it a singer's list. Call it an entertainer's list. Impact on entertainment. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead. I just had to say that. I told you, I said, I saw the list, and I saw, and again, I'm not here advocating for Celine Dion, but I think her fans deserve better. She's the fifth highest. She's among the top 5 singers, female singers, in terms of generating charts, generating money internationally of all time. And and the other 4 you include, and you don't include her. It was just a farce. But go ahead.
No, that's what it is. It is a farce. It is straight trash. And most people in the industry look at it as that. And again, I would have to question, what is the criteria? Right. There's got to be, just like the criteria for people that get nominated for awards in different types of levels of recognition. Because if you've got a top 10 and you've got no Luther and no James Brown, after I saw that, I said, okay, you know what? This is trash. And it's going to be hard for me.
Now, Luther's in there. Luther's in the list within the top 50, I think.
But again, he's not in the top 10, nor is James Brown, number 1. Number 2, Rolling Stone, I think, like I said, clickbait and clout chasing. Rolling Stone is not relevant anymore. People do not read magazines anymore, number 2.
Yeah.
So I think they were, and I think some of this was done just to,
to make us talk about it.
Right, exactly. Right. And to make people mad, because there are some people who are all around entertainers. There are some that are all around singers. There are some that are all around just artists. You got somebody who would write, produce, own a label, promote their own concerts, things along that line that that are not in there. And I said they had better put Beyonce up near the top, because they did not want the wrath of the Beehive. But I will say this: Celine Dion's fans did a Beehive move, because they went down to Rolling Stone and they staged this massive protest.
They should have. I felt bad for her. I said, and considering the announcement she made about her health, I'm like, damn. That's borderline.
Well, here's
cruel.
the thing. What further lets me know that this list is clickbait, hot garbage, and straight trash is that how many businesses do you know when there's that size of it? I mean, it wasn't like 2, 3, 10 people out there. It was like signs, just like they were protesting civil rights and whatnot. Really. And for you to go out there, take pictures, record videotape and put it up on your own website, that to me further lets me know that they just did this for publicity and it's a stunt gone wrong. So if anything, can we both agree and be on one accord when I talk about Dumb Donkey of the Week? It is Rolling Stone magazine. And see and it's backfiring on them because now people are giving them less credibility for doing this hot garbage than they used to have. So I think when the dust settles, and it's going to settle very, very shortly, they're going to realize this was a stunt that went way wrong. I mean, they might as well.
Every year there's always something, but it's like this year was just, what are you doing?
They might as well have put Britney Spears at number 1. That's how uncredible Rolling Stone is right now. So let's look and see how long it's going to be before Rolling Stone goes to only digital, and then Rolling Stone just goes to the graveyard, of media.
But you know what? If anything, Tonya B, and I'll tell you, I think it's tough when you include of all time to do it cross genre. You know what I mean? Because so many genres never got a fair shake when it came down.
For people of color. People of color
never got a fair shake.
That's what I'm saying.
To actually compete on a massive, and what I mean by that is there were breakthroughs, but there was never the fairness. So, it looks like, especially when you look at the top 10, it's almost like they're trying to make up for it by it being, it is black heavy. But you know
what? That's guilt. That is guilt.
That's what I mean. It's like
it's black guilt.
We're trying to make up for all the years where we didn't even have y'all in Rolling Stone. So,
anytime you have the nerve to twist your mouth, MOUF, as in the effery of it all, to try to put Elvis had a Little Richard, who Elvis sold everything from Little Richard and all those black artists from back in the day. I'm like, miss me with that BS. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I do want to look because real quick, and then I know we'll wrap it. But
we need a benediction. We need a benediction.
Don't get me started. But even looking at the fact, okay, I'm just gonna go through it real quick. And again, this is why it's almost like that guilt list when you say, Aretha Franklin's number 1, Whitney Houston's number 2, Sam Cooke is number 3, Billie Holiday number 4, Mariah Carey, she's mixed, number 5, number 6 you got Ray Charles, number 7. Hang on here. You got Steve. Now don't stop me yet. Stevie Wonder. You got Beyonce number 8. You got Otis Redding number 9. Number 10, Al Green. So the top 10 is pretty much all black. Which is cool with me. But it's just
That's
but I look at it from a standpoint of these types of lists. There's a list, and I know we got to wrap up. But these types of lists, there's a list that's put together based on pitch, based on all the things that you judge a singer on.
A singer.
So the only positive thing about it is the recognition of black artists, which you didn't get a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of that in Rolling Stone as someone who was in the industry. Now, I applaud the people like Donnie Simpson, from, Video Soul, when MTV and Bob Pittman wasn't giving us the time of day, and black artists like the Whispers, or black artists when you talk about like, not just the Whispers, but also, what's his name? Hell of a Drug.
Even Prince.
Hell of a Drug. Prince had to fight.
Or Rick James. Rick James
had to fight to get into the video side of it.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes you appreciate the Vibe magazines, the Ebony magazines, the Jet magazines, the black publications, the black radio stations, the black media. it makes you
That's why they were
appreciate them
created.
even more back in the day. So, this kind of reminds me of that. It just makes me appreciate Black media even more.
Exactly.
You got any last minute things, and then we'll get to our last minute.
What's interesting about
like
that?
Some leftovers. What you got?
No, I just want to tell people, the Byrdwire is back. We're doing we just did our first show of 2023. And what I'm doing actually, again, to just educate, uplift people about those people that people forget about is I'm just paying tribute to certain artists in certain years. And how ironic, the first week of this year, I actually paid tribute to Earth, Wind & Fire, because back in 1978, they had the top selling R&B single with Serpentine Fire. And I don't even know where they are with the list. Okay.
That album.
So, okay. Okay, you see what I'm saying?
I put all on it now.
Okay, just put the needle. You don't have to turn it over. Just press play and
just
don't skip anything.
Let the whole thing play.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Just a couple of things. And, I know we got to roll, but I just these are kind of like quick leftovers. And we'll talk about them in the upcoming weeks. I want to find out what's going on with this Lakeith Stansfield baby mama drama. He messy.
Don't
go into it. I know I was going to get you started.
He got the girl pregnant, didn't tell a new girl. No, he messy.
I just want to mention it, but we'll get into it next week.
I ain't talking about him.
I got to say congrats to Robin Roberts, who's getting married, her longtime partner.
Yeah.
And if you remember Robert, I say, and have an affinity to Robin because she worked in Atlanta back in the day at Fox 5. Congrats to Summer Walker and her twins over the holidays. Congrats to her.
Why? 3 kids, 2 baby daddies, and nobody around.
I'm just going to say congrats to her. Congrats Quavo and his track honoring Takeoff. Good stuff. And Jeremy Renner, everyone, really a good guy, nice guy, one of the Marvel characters, the recent snowplow accident, prayers to his family. And Viola Davis and her hubby, by the way, and we'll be talking about this in the upcoming weeks. They're going to be an Architectural Digest this February. So I got to say kudos to her. And I know I'm going to get your blood pressure up one more time before you leave. Jen Shaw, 6.5 years for scamming people. Real Housewives, stop scamming people. Y'all need
she
to
ain't
stop.
A real housewife, and she's not a real business person. You know what?
But I'm just saying,
ain't no good gonna come to you when you scam people like shit. Get off my phone. Get off my phone, you heifer. You should have got more time.
But anyway, y'all, follow us on social media. All of our information, go to This Is the G Podcast, at This Is the G Podcast, Twitter at This Is the G Pod. One last word, Tonya B, and quite frankly, Onyi.Love is the website. She gave us all we needed to get our spirits moving forward. We'll have Vi coming back next week so I can talk to him about how the
Falcons.
The Falcons won, so I got to give it up to him. As a matter of fact,
finally,
I'm gonna give it up to him.
Okay.
So I'll give it up to. We'll talk to Vi next week about the Georgia Bulldogs because they play the national championship as we take the next
tomorrow night.
Anything?
I'm cooking for that.
No, I figured you were. I figured you were. All right. So any last minute words? Any last minute thoughts?
I just want to remind people that COVID numbers are rising. We haven't even gotten the results back from all that havoc that people had to deal with over the holidays, Christmas and New Year. So just please be careful how you move around. We've got this RSV, we've got pneumonia, we got a whole bunch of things going on. So just be careful how you move around. Good stuff.
And with that, y'all, episode 159 is in the can. I got to say peace and power to the people. Real power. Not that fake congressional mess that's going on. Not that fake stuff. That ain't real. That ain't power.
Jeffries, baby.
That ain't power. That's just scamming and folks trying to make money. That's grifting.
Yeah, so that's okay. Hakeem gonna set it off.
Hakeem is real.
Hakeem will set it off. They ain't ready for his jelly. That's all I got to say.
I'm so proud of that brother. Keep it up.
Me too. He gonna get them together. Hakeem.
All right,
Hakeem.
y'all. Have a great week. And we'll be back. Happy 2023. It's good to be back. We'll see you. Peace.
Yeah. Be kind to one another. Holla.
You've been listening to the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B. The G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.